Okay, so is love really just biology? Like just hormones and evolutionary tricks? We've got a ton of research here about the science and evolution of love, and I am so ready to dive in.
Yeah, it's a great question.
It's like when someone says a cake is just flour and eggs and sugar.
Yeah.
Technically true,
Yeah.
but it's the baking and the frosting, the whole experience that
Yeah.
makes it a cake.
Exactly. That's such a great analogy, and you've really hit on something there. I think we often try to understand love through, this very scientific lens
Right.
when it's such a deeply personal thing. And what I thought was really interesting is that our sources define love really broadly.
Okay.
So they include romantic love, of course,
Mm-hmm.
but also family bonds and friendships, even altruism.
Wow.
Do you think about love in that broad of a
Yeah,
sense?
I think I do. Yeah, I think so.
It definitely seems to cover a lot of ground.
Yeah, it does.
And that broad definition is really important because it reflects how evolution works on all these different levels.
Okay.
So it's not just about your survival as an individual,
Right.
It's about your genes being passed on.
Okay.
And that can happen through relatives too.
I see.
So that might be why we feel so strongly about family,
Mm-hmm.
even if they're not, directly helping us survive moment to moment.
Okay, so let's get into that evolution piece then.
Yeah.
Survival of the fittest,
Yeah.
the traits that help us reproduce get passed down.
Uh-huh.
But how does that create something as complex as love?
Right. Well, think about human babies.
Yeah.
They're helpless for a really long time, right?
Yeah.
So babies who clung to their caregivers,
Right.
who cried when they were separated, those babies were more likely to survive.
Oh, interesting.
And so those clingy genes literally help them stay alive
Yeah.
and pass those genes on.
So basically being a needy baby was like a survival tactic.
Exactly. A great survival strategy.
Wow.
And so over a very long time, those same attachment drives,
Yeah.
the ones that kept those babies safe, may have actually evolved to become the basis for the kinds of love that we experience today.
Wow.
Pair bonding, the drive to stay close to a partner, intense parental care.
Uh-huh.
It's not exactly romantic when you look at it through that evolutionary lens,
Right.
but it's certainly effective for survival.
Yeah, it is. And then there's the whole hormone piece.
Right.
Oxytocin, dopamine, everyone's heard of these feel-good chemicals, right?
Of course.
Remember that rush you get when you first fall in love?
Yeah,
It's pretty amazing how powerful those feelings can be.
it is.
I'm guessing those hormones are at least partly responsible?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
So oxytocin is often called the cuddle hormone
Oh,
because it plays a role in bonding and social connection.
I see.
And then dopamine is linked to pleasure and reward.
Hmm.
So that feeling of wanting more of something good.
Uh-huh.
So they're definitely part of the story when we're talking about love.
Okay.
But as with everything in science, I think we have to be really careful not to oversimplify.
Right.
Our brains are so complex. And love isn't just this chemical high,
Hmm.
although it can definitely feel like that sometimes.
So it's more nuanced than just saying, oh, I love this person because my brain is pumping out dopamine.
Exactly.
Okay.
There's way more to it than that. And I think that's what our sources are kind of getting at.
Yeah.
They suggest that while love might be rooted in those basic biological mechanisms,
Right.
how it's expressed and experienced is shaped by a ton of other factors as well.
Interesting. It seems like what we're getting at here is that maybe love can be spiritual or transcendent, like
Yeah.
something that goes beyond those basic biological urges.
Exactly. And think about all the ways that love is portrayed in art and literature and music across different cultures and throughout history.
Right. Right.
We see this idea of love as something bigger than ourselves, something that inspires incredible acts of selflessness and devotion.
And one of the sources that you sent me mentioned the Science of Love podcast. And they had all these amazing listener stories about how love inspired people to create incredible works of art or make huge sacrifices for the people they loved.
Yeah.
And it really does seem like those experiences go way beyond just survival instincts.
I think those stories are such a perfect example of how love can be both, you know, deeply personal and universally felt.
Right.
And I
Yeah.
think this is really where the human experience piece comes in.
Okay.
So evolution might give us the capacity for love,
Yeah.
those basic biological building blocks.
Yeah.
But how that love is expressed and understood is shaped by our culture, our personal histories, all the choices that we make.
So it's kind of like evolution gives us the ingredients,
Yeah.
but we get to decide what kind of cake we want to bake.
I love that. That's such a great way to put it.
Yeah.
And that's why love can look so different for different people, even within the same culture.
Right.
It's not just this fixed biological program.
Yeah, this makes me think about how some cultures value arranged marriages,
Right.
while others prioritize romantic love and individual choice, or how some people experience love at first sight,
Yeah.
while others develop feelings gradually over time. It's fascinating how much variation there is.
Absolutely. And that variation is a key piece of this whole puzzle
Yeah.
when we're trying to understand love.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's this constant interplay
Yeah.
between the biological underpinnings, the
Right.
things we've been talking about, like attachment and hormones,
Yeah.
and all of these cultural and personal influences.
Mhm. So how do we reconcile those two sides then? On
Right.
the one hand, we have all this evidence for strong evolutionary basis for love.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, there are so many examples of love that seem to transcend those biological boundaries.
It's a question that's definitely worth pondering, and I think it brings us back to you, the listener.
Okay.
Think about your own experiences with love.
Yeah.
Does it feel like more than just biology to you?
Right.
Why or why not?
This is where it gets really interesting to me because if love was just biology, wouldn't it look the same in all species?
Right.
And wouldn't it have stayed the same throughout human history?
That's such a good point. We see such a diversity of expressions of love,
Yeah.
even within our own species.
Right.
Monogamy, polygamy, arranged marriages,
Yeah.
love at first sight, friends becoming lovers.
Right.
It's not a one-size-fits-all kind of thing.
Yeah, it really seems like we've uncovered way more questions than answers.
I think that's the whole point.
Yeah.
The question isn't, is love JST biology?
Right.
But how much of our experience of love is shaped by evolution
Mm.
and how much is shaped by everything else?
Everything else.
Yeah, all that stuff, like the personal stories we tell ourselves,
Hmm.
the cultural things we inherit, and the individual choices that we make.
Right.
I think that's really what gives love its own, unique flavor.
I like that.
And its endless variety.
You know what? That's pretty darn romantic.
Yeah.
Even if evolution set the stage,
Right.
we're the ones writing the play.
Exactly.
You know? We choose who to love and how to express it and how to make it meaningful.
And that choice, I think that adds a whole other dimension to this conversation.
Right.
It means that love, while it's influenced by biology,
Yeah.
isn't deterministic.
Right.
Like, we're not just puppets of our hormones
Right.
acting out a script.
Okay. So to wrap this all up for everyone listening,
Yeah.
it seems like love is a product of evolution,
Uh-huh.
but it's also so much more than that.
It's this amazing combo of nature and nurture,
Yeah?
biology and personal experience.
Right.
And it's that interplay,
Yeah.
that tension between those two things
So right.
that I think really makes love so powerful and so enduring.
Well, and it's also reassuring to know that we're not just slaves to our biology.
For sure.
We have the power to shape our own experiences of love to make it something truly unique.
Absolutely. And here's one final thought for you to ponder.
Okay.
If love was only biology,
Uh-huh.
wouldn't it look the same in every culture throughout all of human history?
That's a good point.
The fact that it doesn't suggests that there's something much deeper at play,
Yeah.
something that goes way beyond just the purely physical.
That's definitely something worth thinking about. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the nature of love.
Absolutely.
It's a topic we could explore forever,
For sure.
but hopefully this has given you some new insights to ponder and sparked some interesting conversations of your own.